Welcome, and we're doing the sixth episode of Yitro this morning, and discussing his advice to Moses. Hopefully, we'll get right into it this morning. Let me find where the place is. Here we are. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
So I believe we are here on verse 15.
Yeah.
Because we had that wonderful passage that's a famous quote that you said was in our Siddur about from morning till evening and judging, etc. Vayomer Moshe lochotno. Moses said to his father-in-law, look at how often they refer to Jethro's relationship to Moses, to him as his father-in-law. There's something, clearly that's an important element here, his relationship. Ki yavo, so this is what Moses said. Ki yavo el lai ha'am. When the people come to me, lidrosh Elohim, to search God, to ask, inquire of God. And I think there is no Rashi. Oh, there it is.
There is.
It's Rashi. Ki yavo. Ki ba lashon. So yavo means will come. Literally, it's the imperfect, meaning incomplete action. That's rather than talking about future tense, they talk about the imperfect tense, meaning that it is that it's incomplete action as opposed to perfect, which is usually translated as past, which means completed action. So it means incompleted action. And here Rashi's telling us, ki va lashon hove, that what it means is when they come, not when they will come, but when they do come. All right. So when the people come, they drosh Elohim, to inquire of God. Ketargumo, so we have Rashi's going to the Targum, the Aramaic translation, and he says lemitba ulfan. In other words, to seek or to require learning, teaching. So here we go. Lishol Talmud mipi hagvura, to seek learning from God's mouth. Literally, it means from the mouth of God. Okay, all right. Let me just get rid of my message thing so that it doesn't make that sound. All right.
Interesting that it calls God Hagavura.
Yes, the powerful one.
Yeah.
The ultimate power.
I've just not heard that.
Yes, no, it's definitely out there. Maybe not all that common, but I'd say I'd certainly come across it. Okay. Hi, Judith. Welcome. Good morning. Onwards. Ki yelahim, because they have davar, some matter. Ba elai, they come to me, or it comes to me, v'shafatati, and I judge, bein ish uvein re'ehu, between a man and his fellow, v'hodati et chukei ha'elohim, and I make known the statutes or the laws of God, v'et torotav, and his teachings. And that is not there is no Rashi on that. Vayomer choten Moshe elav. So
I have a Rashi on that.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there it is. There it is. I do have it. Forgive me.
It's tiny.
I didn't catch it. It is tiny. It's short. Ki elahem davar ba. So the question is, what thing? Mish. It's again sort of the Hebrews, the syntax is sort of interesting. Mi haya lo davar, one who has some matter comes to me. Okay, so again, I think he's commenting or clarifying the grammar here, because literally it means when they will have something. Yihiyeh, again, is the imperfect, and he's saying if they have or had something. So haya is a perfect tense, meaning the thing has come, they have it, it's completed. Not that they will have something. It's not if they have if they will have a conflict. It means if they have something, if they have some matter that requires adjudication. Okay. Thanks, Lauren. But Vayomer Choten Moshe Elav, and the Moses' father-in-law said to him, Lo tov hadavar, this is not a good thing, Asher ata aseh, which you are doing. He's not pulling any punches. He's saying this is not a good way to go. And that is Vayomer Choten Moshe. And the father-in-law of Moses said, Derech kavod kor'o hakatov. So Rashi now does make this comment that this way of referring to Jethro as the father-in-law of Moses is a way of showing him respect and honor. Chotno shel melech, that is to say, the father-in-law of a king, because that is Moses's. Even though he's never called King Moses, nevertheless, that is his position of authority regarding the people. He is their leader in a sovereign. He has the sovereignty over the people. So when you're father-in-law of the sovereign, that is a pretty honorable place. Going on. Navol tibol gam ata gam ha'amazeh. So again, this navol tibol means to be confused. He's going to explain how this it's going to mess you up, is what is saying. And this navol tibol, you notice that the verb is said twice, and it's an emphatic. It's the way in which Hebrew expresses emphasis. It's certainly one way in which they do quite frequently. Gamata, not just you, gam ha'amazeh, this people as well, asher imach, who are with you. In other words, you're all going. It's not going to just affect you. It's going to affect them too. Ki chaved mimcha hadavar, because this matter is too heavy for you, too overwhelming. Lo tuchal asohu, you will not be able to accomplish it, levadecha, all by yourself. This is way. So this, as we mentioned before, he is talking about division of labor and the necessary division of labor. Here goes. So Rashi wants us to understand this Hebrew, Navol Tibol, and he goes to Ketargumo as the Targum translates it. So here we go. Mil'ah til'eh. And it means it'll wear you out. You will be worn out. You'll be exhausted. Right. You'll be spent. So that's how he's understanding it. And let's keep going. Ulishano lashon kmiha. And this terminology has the connotation of kmisha, withered. By the way, I think kamushim refers to things that are pickled because they shrivel up, like shriveling, right? And then he uses this French word, which as I looked at it, I realized it's related to this word, flustered, flistra, right? I mean, I think that's where we get the English word flustered, which fits perfectly to this situation. Kamo, and he gives an example, v'ha'ale naval, which would refer to the leaf is withered. And then Isaiah 34, kenavol ale migefen, as the as the leaf is withered or shriveled from the vine, etc. Shehu kamush al yedei chama, because it becomes shriveled by means of the sun, the al yedei kerach, and by means of the frost, the kocho tash ben and its power becomes weak and exhausted. And whoever, you need to check and see if you're muted, one of you. Okay. Gam ata. So the gum is to sorry. Okay. The means lerabot, to include. It comes to include something when it says, because it could just say ata. So this word gum, this preposition gum, is understood to mean to include something else that may not be specified. And here he says, lerabot, to include Aharon, to include Aaron, V'chur, and Chur, who's the other leader, and I think it's Moses' brother-in-law, the Ayin Skenim, and the 70 elders. They're not enough. As many as there are, it's not going to be enough. They got 600,000 people to adjudicate. That is just men 20 years old and upwards. So do the math, right? Ki gaved mincha, because it is too heavy it is heavier than you are, literally it means, or it's too heavy. So kvodo rav, the weight of this, the responsibility of it is too much. It's yoter mikochacha. It is stronger. It requires more strength than you have. Lauren, did you want me to look at the attachment?
It's just letting you know that your guess about the origin of fluster was not on the mark.
Okay, just looked very similar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it. Okay, all right. All right, I see. All right. I won't argue it. Just interesting that it looked so similar. So let's keep going here. Thank you. So he's talking about, when you work so hard, when the job is just so overwhelming that you're gonna wear out. That's what he's basically saying, right? It's just so overwhelming. Ata shma bakoli. Now I think we did. Let's make sure we did the next verse. Yeah. Yes, we did it. All right, let's go in here. One moment, please. Here we go. Ata, with an ayin. Now, shma bakoli, iatzcha. Listen, literally pay attention to my voice. I will give you advice. So listen to me. Please listen to my advice. Vayhi Elohim imach, and may Elohim, may God be with you. And here it goes. Heye ata la'am, you should be to the people, mul ha-Elohim, corresponding to God. And by the way, Elohim can mean judge, right? Veheveta ata et hadvarim ela Elohim. So I guess corresponding would not be the right thing. It means right opposite God. Given the rest of the sentence, veheveta ata, and you should bring et hadvarim, the words, the matters, ela Elohim, to God. So let's take a look at what is being said here. I'atzcha v'yeh Elohim imach. I will give you advice, and may God be with you. So here we go. Be'etza amar lo, and through advice he said to him, Tzeh hamelech bigvura. And literally it means let God go out in strength, literally. And again, they're using the term gvura, implying power, right? So here, let God confirm what I'm advising, which I think is really cool. That he's saying to Moses, here's my advice, but make sure you check that this is in fact what God wants you to do. See for yourself that this is what God wants to have you do. Heye ata la'am mul ha'elohim. This is again quoting the passage. So here we go. Shaliach, so the sense in which you are there between God and the people is shaliach, which is a messenger or an emissary. Umelitz is a translator. So you should be there to take God's words, beinotam, between them, lamakom, between them and God. V'shoel mishpatim me'ito, and you can inquire laws from him. Et hadvarim, the words, the matters, the affairs, divrei ribotam. In other words, their disputes. You will bring those words to God for adjudication. But you'll see, it's not talking about every situation. That's going to be clarified. V'hizharta etem, and you shall, literally it means you shall warn them, meaning you should let them know ahead of time, right, what they are, et hachukim, the laws, the et hatorot, and the instructions. V'hodata lahem et haderech. So this is all, looking like this follows the Torah. You should make known to them et haderech yelchuva, the way in which they should go, the path they should follow. Ve'et ha'maaseh asher ya'asun, and the actions which they should take. So this is, you can see, this is giving them guidance, the degree to which having laws and having the Torah gives people a direction in which to take the laws, take their behavior, how they should act. But it seems to say, that first of all, you need to teach them the laws themselves. They need to be aware of the laws, and then they need to apply those laws to how they behave. So that's the function of the Torah. Okay. Let's go in further. Here we go. So we don't have a Rashi on that. V'ata techezeh mikol ha'am, and you should see. Literally, it means you shall look for. Okay, you should see. But there's a sense in which there's sort of a deeper way in which you should look at. You should search out mikol ha'am, from all the people, from the entire nation, anshe chayil, people of strength, strong people, Yirei Elohim, God-fearing. So it's interesting because this is like these are two possible opposites, but they go, in this case, they go together. Anshe Emet, people of truth, Son'e Batza, who hate, Batza would in this case mean bribes. V'samta alehem, and you shall place upon them, meaning the nation, the people, sarei alafim, captains of thousands, sarei me'ot, captains of hundreds, sarei chamishim, captains of 50, v'sarei asarot, and captains of tens. So here we go. So Rashi is playing around with the word techezeh, means you shall see. Now we have the word chazon, which means a vision, like a prophetic vision. And so because of this, Rashi is going with Baruch HaKodesh, with the divine spirit, she'alecha, which you possess. So you should be able to seek out, you should be able to discover through the divine spirit that is within you these people. Anshe Chayil. So again, this is part of what's so valuable and also beautiful about Rashi is he's specific. He's specific, and he specifies what the Torah is talking about. Because again, the more specific you can get, the more understanding, if you're accurate in your specifications, the better picture and the closer to the meaning you can get. So he says, people of strength, ashirim, they're wealthy people. But here's the context. She'ein tzrichin la'chanif, because they don't need to flatter, ulahakir panim, or to show favor. So they need to be, so the idea of them being wealthy is that they don't have to be subservient to people who are wealthier than they are, etc., etc. They won't be unduly influenced right off the bat. Anshe emet, people of truth. This is lovely. Elu ba'alei havtacha. He means these are people who are reliable. Shehem kidai lismoch al divrehem. They are worthy that one can count on their words. They mean what they say. You can count on what they say. She'al yedechen, because by means of which you divrehem nishmaim. Look at this. Because the fact that they are reliable, that what they say is what they mean, and they tell the truth, you divrehem nishmaim, their words will be accepted. People will be able to trust them. I mean, how relevant these words are in what we're going through right now, right? These words which were said, hundreds of years ago, and how well they apply, and partially because of this myth that we have. It's a modern myth that because this stuff is old, it doesn't count anymore. It's out of date. And precisely because we think it's out of date, we don't pay attention to it, and look at what we walk into. Son e batza, right? Who hate bribes, something like that. Betza means, Judah uses this word when he speaks to the brothers about the sale of Joseph. And in other words, he's saying, what benefit? They don't seek benefit. And Judah is saying to them, of what benefit is it to us to kill him? Right? Let's make some money. And that's part of the Betza as well. Right? What profit? There's the word. They hate profit. So here we go. Rashi's explaining it. Shesonin et mamonam. And even though sonim means they hate, literally, it means they hate their money. And the Sefaria, I think, translates it very nicely. They pay no regard to their money. Money isn't what motivates their behavior. Again, look at nowadays, right? Money's money, but it's not something they're all about. And here we go. Badin, and he says, in a lawsuit, they don't pay regard to their money. And what he's going to mean is by requiring a lawsuit to extract it from them. And here he goes. Kahahida amrina. And he says, as the proverb goes, Kol daina de mafkin mamona mine. He says, any judge from whom you have to extract his money, bedina, by means of a lawsuit. In other words, you want compensation, you're going to have to go to trial to get the money from him. Love daina, who he's not a judge. So somebody who's so attached to their money that if you want compensation, etc., you have to go to trial to get it. And that's in Baba Batra. Here we go. Sarei alafim, captains of thousands. And he explains what this means. Heim hayu shesh me'od sarim. This is referring to 600 officers, the shesh me'od elef, for the 600,000. So that he's saying, since it's thousands and there was 600,000, so there's 600 officers. Sarei me'ot, and officers or captains, officers of hundreds. So he says, Sheshet alafim hayu. In this case, there were now 6,000 of them. So 600, then another 6,000. Sarei chamishim, officers of 50s. And in that case, we'd be looking at 12,000. Sarei asarot, and in this case, in other words, officers of tens, shishim elef. So we're talking now about 60,000. So we're going from 600 to 60,000 people. And if you do the math, that's a lot of people. And when you think about it, right, it's such a responsibility. We look at the process of judges being appointed and the process of granting them their appointments, and how vital it is for the life of a community. And this is where we have it, right here in our Torah, with Jethro giving this advice to Moses. So there's this comment, this parenthetical comment that's an editorial comment. Whoever was the editor of this version of Rashi, makes the following comment. Is this in your Chabad version, Lauren?
Yes.
Okay, so make sure I'm accurate about this. Ma shepiresh Rashi al kol hasarim. Regarding what Rashi says about all the officers, kama hayu, how many there were, v'hu lechaora lelo tzorech, and on the surface, it doesn't seem necessary. It doesn't seem like a vital comment that he's making. V'hinei be'imet, and indeed, even though on the surface that appears to be the case, the truth is, tiken bazeh, he actually gives us, he helps us, okay, v'tirates, and he explains kushia, a difficulty, but pasuk, in this verse. Because it looks as if it's going from smaller numbers. This is what he's going to say, that when it says sarei alafim, that he's, that in starting a list, it's starting with a higher number and going to the smaller number, and that seems strange, right? The kashiv milamala lamata, because the list is going from the largest number to the smallest number, because it starts off with officers of thousands. Ritzono lomar. So what he wants to say, hamismar merubeh, what we mean by this is that hamispar merubeh, the larger number, kodem mispar ha'omi mu'at, precedes the smaller number. Velo havala lemar, and it doesn't make sense to go in that way. Okay, ella mitchila, but one should start, the way the list should start is mitchila sarei asarot. So it should say, it should have started with officers of tens, barishona, at the beginning. V'achar kach hadragam kulam, and in this particular order, then listing out all of them. Ulufi perushor, but by means of his explanation, Rashi's explanation, shehisker uprat, where he explains it, he mentions it, uparatz chum minyan, and he actually tells you how many, right? Why he's explaining how many we're talking about, hasarim, of the officers. Say v'chashov, and in other words, he's figuring it out. And when you minyanam, and we look carefully at the numbers, ulegabaihu, I believe is what this is saying. The print is hard to read here. It says, corresponding. So when you actually mention, when it says captains of thousands, right, you realize that's not as many, right? When you calculate the number of officers of the thousands, Ate Shapir, now things make sense. And I think that Mispar Hamu'at Tchila, that in fact the smaller number, because we're only talking about 600 of the first group, Tchila, beginning, V'achar kach Bahadraga, and then going in stages up to this, I think it was it 60,000 of the captains, of the officers of tens. Kein nireli nachon v'dok. This seems to, this makes sense to me, Nachon, that this is exactly the point that Rashi's trying to make. Any thoughts about that or is that clear enough, or let me ask? Okay, I'm going to assume your silence is consent. V'shaftu et haham
Well, it's after 10.
Oh, didn't realize. Okay, I'll stop. All right.
I forgot to mention that today is Shirley Portman's yahrzeit.
Oh, wow, really? So retroactively, our lesson was in her memory. I need to see if I can write that down so we'll know next time. All right. Thanks, Lauren. Well, Shabbat Shalom, and I'm going to start the recording. Take care.